Thank you all for joining. We'll get started in just a minute. All right, let's get started. Thank you all for being here today and happy fall. Thank you so much for making the effort and committing part of your day to learning. I promise to make this next half hour very worth your time. Before I dive into anything, please take a moment to review today's housekeeping rules. For tech issues, please use the chat feature on your screen. My colleague and I will be able to troubleshoot in the moment. And for all questions that apply, please use the Q&A feature. And keep in mind that not everyone in the audience is in your industry, so please submit questions that are relevant to all types of employers. I will send out the slides post-presentation with resources and a post-webinar survey link. Please note that those responses come straight to me. I will also send out a recording of this presentation. And as a quick introduction, my name is Lindsay Smith. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Associate Director for Employer and Community Connections in the UW Career and Internship Center. I have worked for the center for the past 7 years. And if this is your first contact with the CNIC, we are the centralized career center on campus that provides career guidance and programming for students of most majors and school years. I attended college on the other side of the state at Gonzaga University, go Zags, but love supporting Huskies here in Seattle. And my email address is lsmith8@uw.edu. So here's our agenda for today. We'll start super broadly. I want to talk a little bit about how you can build or revamp your recruiting pipeline, use a simple three-step approach and some knowledge about the average student. Then we'll dig in a little deeper to UW student trends specifically and how you can stand out to Huskies by building a brand that'll speak to what they want specifically. Lastly, we'll talk through recruiting timelines. Whether you have non-traditional recruiting timelines or one that's fairly standard for your industry, we'll talk through student activity, and I'll give you some recommendations about when and how to begin your outreach. All right, this is where we begin. This part of the presentation is meant to help focus the energy and vision you have for recruiting this year. If you've never formally built a recruiting pipeline or you have a strategy but are listening to this webinar to think about how you can revamp it, this section is going to outline how I'd tell you to approach connecting with students in the 2025-2026 school year. So step one, make your content stand out. Before a new hire is even a twinkle in your eye, you're going to have to attract the right candidates. This is going to require you to sit down and consider your open roles, your entire company really, through the lens of a student. And what you come up with is going to create the foundation upon which you market your company. You have two main questions to think through. The first is, what do students expect of me? The key word that comes to mind is responsibility. We're learning that students feel very responsible to make the most of their education and the money they pay and the effort they exert to go to classes, participate in career readiness and extracurricular activities, and generally make the most of their time here at UW. And they expect the same of employers. They want to know that employers are committed to the things that they care about. We'll talk a little bit more later about what students do care about. In general, though, as we talk today about recruitment here at UW, and you think about what you'd like to take away, I'd keep the word responsibility in mind. How can you communicate to this class of students that you are committed to them? This is going to affect how you communicate your benefits policies or write about your company mission. The second question follows, what do you expect from students? This affects how you tailor your list of responsibilities or your list of minimum requirements. What I'd encourage you to think about here is that we're learning that students want specificity as much as they want equality. Here's what I mean by that. In the past few years, we spent a lot of time talking to employers about access to jobs and encouraging them to think critically about job requirements. Does your job really necessitate 3 years of experience? Does it really require a degree in marketing? However, the catch-22 for students is that if jobs really are open, then they risk feeling vague to students. You might mitigate this by having a section on recommended background or something similar, so as to say, a degree in this major field isn't necessary. But if you're wondering if you fit the bill, here's some guidance on the types of major paths that are relevant to this field. Just to illustrate what I talked about, here's a sample job posting from our center. The department description and the diversity statement should speak to students. This is how students are going to glean information about your mission and decide if you're a good workplace for them. The position purpose, position responsibilities, and qualifications section should set reliable expectations and help the right candidates get in touch with you. So you've got the message. Now let's make it student facing. Step 2 is making your presence stand out. I have 2 slides for this step, divvied up to focus on online and offline efforts. We'll start with online efforts first. I think a common mistake recruiters often make is forgetting to optimize their recruiting efforts for the platform. Not all websites are created equal. I've put some helpful tips in here to help you focus your efforts. Let's start with Handshake. As an early adopter, we joined Handshake in 2018. We pushed this out to all of our students, and we truly believe it's the best way you can get in touch with most student populations. So all students who have been at UW have only known Handshake and not our previous system. We love it because it's not only a great place to post jobs, it's also a great way to participate in or host events. It's really a catch-all for all things recruiting. But we can't forget about LinkedIn, the original Handshake. This is also a great way to get in touch with students, and I'll be the first to admit that it's the most legitimate professional networking platform. LinkedIn doesn't have as many capabilities. You can't host virtual info sessions on LinkedIn, for example, but it's a lot less noisy. Handshake's new social media platform has introduced a layer of clutter that most students won't necessarily sift through in the way they might scroll through LinkedIn. So use the platform to your advantage by networking here. We do encourage students to both have a robust Handshake profile and a LinkedIn profile. We encourage both as both are really important and helpful pieces to their job searching process. I also want to call out campus-specific job boards. This is a good way to reach some departments that offer alternative job boards and opportunities for you to connect with their students. You can also connect directly with departments, as this might be helpful to promote your opportunities directly with their student population. These schools know their students best, and you can gain some great exposure that way. As the Central Career and Internship Center, we don't necessarily have a direct connection, for example, with psychology students, but we know who to connect you with to reach those students. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention social media when talking about online presence. Social media is interesting. It was long touted as the place to be for any employer who wanted to give themselves a personality. But now social media is filled with personalities, and it's hard to stand out among the noise. In a world where videos are 10 seconds long, we're dealing with short attention spans and quick bursts of dopamine. So whatever you create has to feed that. I would not recommend getting involved in TikTok or Instagram for your company that cannot devote the energy and creativity that those platforms demand. Step 2. This slide focuses on all of the elements that are offline and in person, connecting with students face to face. Here are some ways you can get in front of Huskies physically based on what we offer on campus on a regular basis. These are opportunities like career fairs, for one. So our Career Center specifically hosts between 6 to 7 per year, and most of them are open to all majors and all industries. We also have some niche career fairs. I'll talk about some opportunities to engage in those in a bit. Um, and if you're attending career fairs, my best tip for you is to know who's likely to attend. As a secondary tip, be intentional about who you bring to talk about your open roles. Huskies love Huskies, so alumni are a great choice. But above all, as I mentioned earlier, Huskies depend on you to set good expectations. So they want to talk to someone who knows what they'll be doing in a potential role more than anything. If it's possible for your recruiting team, bring someone who performs the role you're hiring for to really stand out at these events. Virtual info sessions are another great way to get roles in front of Huskies, but caution, you're going to need to get creative with your info session name, description, or hosts in order to drive attendance. Anyone can host a virtual info session for free, so students' handshakes feeds can be saturated. Remember this when you're drawing up your event schedule. You can only stand out if you're willing to put in the work. Another way to stand out is to host your own event. Remember that you can reach out to the student populations that align with your industry, and you can do this in a couple of ways. I've already talked about contacting departments or schools that house the majors that align with your role, but you can also reach out to RSOs or registered student organizations to do the same thing. So, for example, if you wanted to reach out to the School of Social Work and to find social workers, you can hop onto the RSO directory and contact the Organization of Student Social Workers or the School of Social Work Disability Justice Collective or the UW NARCare chapter, just to name a few. UW also offers the option to table in the Husky Union building. Our office doesn't organize this, so we can't speak to the process, but you are welcome to connect with the hub staff and inquire about opportunities. There are some fees involved in that that we aren't fully aware of the costs about, but in my follow-up email, I will create or I will include links to all of these opportunities and connection points for you. This slide really encapsulates a lot of ways that UW makes it easy for you to get in front of Huskies, but remember that you can come up with your own recruiting tactics as well. For example, UW offers interview rooms. So our center has a number of rooms that you can reserve to host on-campus interviews, but you don't have to just conduct interviews. You could book one or two and use them to host office hours or coffee chats with students and give them a one-on-one networking opportunity, something so many have voiced their appreciation for. And if you have your own idea, we'd love to hear from you. Things like site visits, small group coaching sessions, or maybe resume review sessions are all things students have interest in. If you'd like to come to us, let us know what you'd like to do. We'll try to make it come to life. And as a final step, make your follow-up stand out. We recently surveyed a group of students to ask them what they wanted from recruiters, and this was by far the most requested action item. At the time I'm filming this, the job market has not been easy for anyone, including students, and it's altogether too common for students to be on the receiving end of a ghost from recruiters. So the best way you can stand out is to be an eager recruiter. In a world where it feels like so few companies want to make a hire, students are really attracted to the idea of someone wanting them. So I'm dividing up this slide into two categories based on how the contact was established. If the contact was made online, I'm guessing it was made by you, the organization. Maybe you have a practiced established system already of sending out cold DMs on Handshake or LinkedIn. Here are my tips for you. Make sure the message is very tailored. It should have their name and it should include a line as to why you're reaching out. It should reference something from their profile and it should include a clear next step. Most importantly, don't forget to keep the conversation going if and when the student replies. It seems so easy, but students say it's not unusual to reply back with a question and receive nothing in return. If you're going through the trouble of finding a student profile and then tailoring and sending a message, continue going through the trouble of maintaining contact. You can really stand out to a student in this way. The other contact can be established offline, usually at an event or if it's triggered by the student. So the student attends an event you're at and approaches your booth, comes to shake your hand, participates in the Q&A, or however you're presenting yourself on campus. To stand out to students here, the best advice I can give you is to make their attendance worth their while. Students are likely attending your event because they want a job, and you can maybe reward them for their extra effort by doing something you can't do for other candidates who are just applying online. Maybe that's by collecting resumes and sending attendees a follow-up email or inviting them to a coffee chat the next day. No matter how you choose to do it, I encourage you to remember that recruiting doesn't end after the event is over. Keep the momentum going by keeping up with your interested candidates. I will also note now there's a trend, as I'm sure all of you recruiters have seen, of mass applications going out. And so students, AI has made it easier for students to mass apply to applications, not only making their resume more easily tailored to each job posting or just mass applying with easy clicks. I know Handshake's made it easier to do an easy apply option, and then they'll have an algorithm of similar jobs, and the students can just apply to all of those straight on. So I do want to recognize that you all are probably facing and maybe facing an onslaught of applications. And if so, I know this work can be hard to get in touch with each and every one of them. If you do, though, then you absolutely stand out more because it's hard to get back to all the people who have been applying to your jobs. So wanted to call that out. So how to cater to Huskies. Let's segue into Huskies specifically and run through some stats and offerings that are specific to the University of Washington. The more you know your audience, the better you can engage them. So some quick stats on the UW tri-campus populations. We're a system of 3 schools, with our Seattle campus as our largest at just over 50,000 students enrolled. Bothell and Tacoma each sit at around 5,000 students enrolled. And I wanted to bring this up purely to put Handshake into perspective and to remind you of just how much reach you have by getting involved there. So UW Nuance, Seattle and Bothell share a Handshake account. Tacoma has its own instance. So by being connected to Seattle and Bothell on Handshake, you have the capacity to get your roles in front of nearly 56,000 students and alumni. We have also thousands more alumni on Handshake beyond the 56,000 students. By connecting to Tacoma, you can add an additional 5,000 students and hundreds more alumni as well. Basic Handshake accounts are free for employers, and they do have a number of paid options to amplify your recruiting efforts. Also, the University of Washington hosts a diverse student population at UW. A few years ago, we welcomed UW's most diverse freshman class ever, seeing record numbers of underrepresented minority students, transfer students, first-generation students, and international students. Which means that anytime you interact with a Husky undergraduate, you may be interacting with a member of one of these populations. This might mean that they don't speak English as a first language. They may be interested in your diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, and if you're approaching DEI work at all. They may have never had an internship before or be wondering if you hire international students. What I really want you to walk away with understanding from this section is that students are bringing a new perspective and needs to campus, and that's changing how campus systems respond to them. And all students go to college to, drumroll, get jobs. So the college experience is very much linked to job experiences, and we have to think tangentially about this. The values students bring to college is going to affect how campus responds to them, and therefore how campus shares information with you, and also how you come to campus and interact with our students, and how students interact with you. It's a big ecosystem of influence with students at the helm. Huskies are highly academically motivated. UW is proud to be one of the best universities in the world, ranked 6th globally and second among US public institutions, with many initiatives in race and equity, population health, and entrepreneurship. Students who attend the University of Washington care about doing good and achieving success, along with these elements. We already talked a bit about relevant education and experience criteria. Huskies want to know what you expect of them. Huskies also care about your benefits policy, particularly as it relates to work-life balance. They care about flexible working policies, mental health support, and PTO. Huskies also care about salary transparency. They want to know how much they'll make, and as a fiscally prudent generation, they also want to know if they'll have opportunities to advance to earn more throughout their career. Huskies care a lot about social impact. They want to work for a company that does purposeful work or will allow them to do good as an employee of your organization. And they care about diversity, equity, and inclusion principles. They want to work for a diverse leadership alongside diverse individuals who care about uplifting minoritized populations. These factors will affect how you take a number of actions. Knowing some of these things are most important to Huskies will affect how you market your company. Knowing that Huskies care about social impact, you might revise your job descriptions by extrapolating upon your mission or showcasing information about your philanthropic endeavors. Knowing that Tacoma has its own instance of Handshake, you may connect with our campus to reach our students, but connect to their campus to reach theirs. Knowing that we have a high population of international students, you might prepare your recruiting team with information about your company's ability to accept CPT or OPT or sponsor student visas, which are very different systems and very different requirements. I know it's not easy to tailor your recruiting efforts all the time, but hopefully this turns some wheels in your mind about how you can do a few things differently. All right, moving on to the last part of our agenda, recruitment timelines. When do you start? What makes sense for your industry? What about the students? I'm going to run through these quarter by quarter, starting with fall quarter. It runs from September 24th, which is yesterday, we had our first day of classes, through December 11th. Think of October as the period for especially business and STEM major paths, but all students are excited to start considering jobs and internships. So it's not a bad time at all to start your promotion of your opportunities or even start pipelining. And as you may have noticed, if you're connected to Seattle and Bothell and Handshake, career centers are a tizzy this time of year with fairs and events. And most of them are in October, some are in November. So if you fit into one of these industries, or again, are just interested in pipelining or promoting your opportunities, this is a great time to do it. So our fall job and internship fair, last year we had 2,100 students, but we average around 2,000 student and alumni attendees. It's the biggest fair we have. I believe we have one booth left or we're sold out and have the wait list going. 20 minutes ago we had one booth left, so I'm going to take a look in a minute and see. But that is a great wait list to join if you're interested. Winter quarter starts after the holidays, January 5th through March 13th. This is the primary recruiting period for summer jobs and internships for most other industries. I want to make a special call out to internships specifically because we've noticed the largest volume of internship postings and handshakes during these months. It's sort of a chicken and egg cycle. Employers are doing their heaviest recruiting during this time, and therefore most sophomores and juniors are looking during this time. Winter quarter also seems to be an active recruiting time, just given the turn of the new year. It's a great time for recruiters to take advantage of the new year, new me mentality when candidates start setting goals for their job search efforts and consider career changes. Historically, our center's winter job and internship fair have had about 1,500 student attendees. Spring quarter, after spring break, is from March 30th to June 5th. It's primarily for non-tech roles, and it's a great time for industries listed here on the screen, as well as a catch-all for really any industries open to any other majors or all majors. It's a great time, probably is no surprise, to fill those just-in-time hiring for summertime, no matter the industry. If you need a role filled quickly, there are a lot of students hustling and bustling for jobs during this time. And our spring job and internship fair usually has about 1,000 student attendees. Summer is interesting. There aren't many roles recruited during this time. A lot of just-in-time hiring, though. And if you happen to still be recruiting in early June, our center hosts the last career fair of the academic year. And actually it's in late June. So keep an eye on that if you're interested. We try to fit it in before July because after that time, students go on vacation physically and mentally. Our lowest application and submission month is July. So we wouldn't exactly recommend July as a great time to post, but students, especially maybe in this job market, are looking all the time. So whenever you have a job opening, go ahead and post it. But your recruitment timeline based on your organization's budget or fiscal year might start in August, which is technically late summer for UW, but still might necessitate you getting in front of students during this time, especially because the semester schools do start during August, whereas we are later as a quarter system. And our summer job and internship fair usually has around 500 to 700 student attendees, so still a good number of students joining us for that. Okay, fall career fairs hosted by the Career and Internship Center. We have 3 this fall. I'm going to do a quick refresh on my Handshake page. So it looks like, yes, we just sold our last booth, so you can join the wait list. I highly recommend that. We often have, cancellations, and so we still have some room. And then we do have a virtual job and internship fair. Believe it or not, virtual fairs are still a thing. They're smaller and they're great for you to get in front of a student population that is eager to connect with, with employers from the comfort of their dorm room. We also have a nonprofit and government career fair in person that is sold out, but we have a wait list for that as well. I would recommend joining that. Those QR codes go to each of those pages of information on our website. And then the QR code in the top right is our full calendar. So you can start saving the dates for our winter, spring, and summer career fairs. Okay, wrap up and thank you. So I wanted to just end on the point that recruiting is not an art, or it is an art, it's not a science. There's no exact formula, and it's heavily dependent on your company's growth patterns, budget, and current needs. This webinar was meant to help you get the conversation started with your recruiting team. And if you have any questions about how to get involved with the Career Internship Center and get in front of Huskies this academic year, please reach out to us. We'd love to chat with you. Again, my name is Lindsay Smith. You can reach out to me at lsmith8@uw.edu. For career fair and event questions, the best email address is cicevents@uw.edu. That is where we manage all event and career questions, registrations, and all of the things. We have a quick minute, so let's see some Q&A. We are a cannabis company. Are we able to interact with students? Yep, no problem with cannabis companies. Post on Handshake, come to campus. All great. Let's see here. Of course, it varied, but I would appreciate knowing more about the goals of students attending February career fairs. What proportion will be looking for summer internships? Many of them. And I would recommend if you have open internships, come to that fair. However, students also are thinking about the fall, or excuse me, their graduation, those who are graduating. So coming to the fair with full-time opportunities, you will get plenty of people visiting your booth who are interested in talking to you as well. Can you show the previous page? I'm guessing, yes, I can go back a few pages. I wonder if it was the fall career fairs. I'll also send this out in a minute. Let's see here. What else do we have? All right, anything else? Feel free to put in the Q&A. We have just a minute and maybe we can answer one more. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate your joining us today, and I can't wait to connect with you further. Thank you so much and have a great day.